What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is a late night review of Chelsea versus Liverpool. Yes! That'd be a lot louder if it were earlier in the day and people were not sleeping. So, a couple of things. First of all, it is late, so I'm going to be very tired. And second of all, I did watch this I was busy earlier today when it was on, and so I did get to watch it and listen to some of it, but there were parts of the play that I probably missed. So if there were a couple things that maybe affected my view of the game overall, please forgive me. But anyway, yeah, so going into this one, I mean, solid 1-0 win at home against a team like Liverpool, who really, second half of the season, have looked a really good team. I mean, that's a good win, and it's a good, solid victory as well. A couple things I do think helped. First of all, the fact that they had to play midweek. It's difficult. You have to go away from home. You have to travel to another country to play, and then come back and play away from home again. I mean, that's difficult to do. And on top of that, you're playing against Roma, at Roma. And as we saw, Barcelona and even us, it's difficult to play at Roma. They are a good team on their own right, but then you go and play at their place. That's a difficult venue. So just that fact, it kind of, you could tell, took its toll a little bit. They started off the game against us very, with a lot of, I guess, possession, trying to move the ball around, but there wasn't really that killer instinct that I've come to expect from their front three that we've seen second half of the season. Another thing that helped, though, is the fact that he really didn't change a whole lot. The only player that I think he subbed was, or not subbed, but didn't start, was Henderson, that started midweek. That kind of helps too. You got these players that played a hard game midweek away from home, and then you come to another place that's not your home and you ask them to play again. Yeah, that can be very difficult. And you can kind of see it. Even though there were parts of the game where it felt like Liverpool were dominating mainly in possession, they never really looked the same attacking threat that we've seen throughout most of the season. I can only remember like 2 chances from Mane where for a second I'm like, oh, that's a good hit, or oh, that's a good chance. The rest of their chances kind of seem like comfortable save, or the ball is just bouncing around and, oh my gosh, it's dangerous for a second, but there's like 3 defenders in front of them, so it never really was dangerous. So overall, I would say we were still the better team, mainly because we had the best chances, and it really could have been 2-0 at 3-0, a couple points. So anyway, first of all, talk about the lineup. Not a bad lineup, and honestly, it ended up working out okay today. But my personal frustration is 2 things. First of all, Emerson, after playing, in my opinion, 3 good games in a row, is on the bench, and Alonso gets to start. Don't get me wrong, Alonso can have his moments, and honestly, I'll talk about it later. He did play pretty well today. He had some good defensive moments and also good attacking moments. However, he's coming back after a 3-game suspension in a game where he was awful, and then on top of that, did something stupid that got him a retrospective ban. He's coming back from that and instantly back into the starting lineup. And Emerson put in my opinion, 3 solid performances over the games where he got a chance. And yet he still gets taken out. First game, Alonso's back. And while, I'll talk about it later, Alonso did have a good game, there's still one big thing that I think Alonso kills us in, and that is the width. Emerson does such a good job of keeping that width. He'll get out wide, kind of similar to Moses, and comparing Moses and Zappacosta, the width for Emerson and Moses is there. They'll get wide, they look to run up and down the lines, they look like wing backs. For Zappacosta and Alonso, they look like attacking wings. And nowhere is it more perfectly shown, explained? Not explained. Exemplified. That's the word I'm looking for. Stop doing reviews at 12 o'clock at night, Mason. Exemplified. Then in the first half, I remember Bakayoko had the ball, and he's waiting for somebody to make an overlapping run, because he's got a guy cutting off the middle, and he's got a guy behind him. So he's waiting for somebody to make that overlapping run on the left side to lay it off. Where's Alonso? Inside of him. And so he ends up giving up the ball, because he tries to dribble around it. They poke it off of him. Alonso is there in the middle, which he does pretty well to win it back. But then he takes it inside, and then the ball gets played out to, I think it was either Giroud or Hazard. It was one of the two. And they end up taking it kind of out to the left, and they actually look to play Alonso there, and he's not there because he's still, whenever he made the run inside, instead of coming back outside after he gave the ball up, he actually continued to run straight at the goal. You're not a striker. And Zappacosta does the same thing, and I'll talk about him later. But that's my biggest frustration. When you have Alonso on the field, it ends up being either Hazard or Willian or Pedro, whoever's playing up top with them, which today, because we only had two up top, that wasn't there. But he ends up forcing one of those attacking players to have to play the width because he's not providing it. That's a problem, because that's not your role. Your role in the team is not to cut inside and be a striker. Your role is to provide the width, to get wide, to give us an option out there. And he doesn't do that enough. So that's my big frustration just with him coming back into the team. It's almost like Emerson just played those 3 games, played well, did what he was supposed to do, and then after all of that, Conte is just like, yeah, but Alonso's been here longer, so get back in the team, buddy, even though you don't do what you're supposed to. Get back out there. I don't like that. The other thing that I did have a problem with is the fact that once again we went with the 3 in the middle, the 3 center mids. It ended up working out okay, but at the first, it didn't work out. And the big part of that is, once again, just like the problem I had in the Swansea game, I don't remember if I talked about this or not, but there's not enough up top when you go with 3 in the middle and only 2 up top. When you don't have Willian or Pedro on the field, that's a problem because they're generally the ones that make the hard runs to win the ball and force the defense to make mistakes. When you just got Giroud and Hazard, both of them good players, but that's not what they provide, which means you now have no players that are providing the pressure on the defense, forcing them to play quickly. And so for the first 20 minutes-ish, Liverpool, they dominated possession. They had no problems because guess what? You don't have anybody that's putting pressure on them. And that is a problem because Liverpool 100% probably would have scored 2 or 3 in the first 20 minutes because of the lack of pressure we were putting on their defense because they just had so much possession and were just pass, 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 and that was it. And I have a problem with that because it was a similar problem against Swansea when we went with this lineup. We didn't have Pedro or Willian out there, and I'm thinking to myself, why? So, I don't know. Those two, and as far as the starting lineup is concerned, those two are strange decisions for me. Taking out Emerson after 3 solid games, putting in Alonso even though he's not doing what we're asking him to, and then going with the 3 in the center mids again, it just really doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, it worked, but once again, I do think we were helped by the fact that Liverpool, not 100%. So, anyway, with that being said, the only other problem I have with Conte is the substitutions again. I did respond after Chelsea tweeted the final score, oh, what a win. I did respond to that and say, why does he wait so late to make the subs? This is the 3rd game that I've had a heart attack. And it is frustrating. We are in the 80th minute, and Liverpool is pounding this pressure down our throats, and he's not even made 1 sub yet. It's frustrating. And somebody did respond to me on Twitter and said, well, maybe it's just a waste of time. Okay, fine. You're trying to waste time, whatever. Here's the problem. First of all, by the time you make those subs, this momentum is eventually just going to keep going and keep growing and keep getting stronger. And once they get that goal, there's a chance they're going to come at you even harder. And all of a sudden, it could be a 2-1 game instead of a 1-1 game. So why let them have the momentum? Why not make a change as the momentum starts to shift? Why not go ahead and make a change instead of waiting 15 minutes after the momentum shifts? Because now they're just flying at you constantly. Honestly, it should have been in about the 65th, 70th minute was about where Liverpool really started to get going. I think they brought Henderson in and he started linking the play up a lot more. They started to get going in there. Pedro on for Fabregas. Not my favorite player, not somebody that I've been impressed with this season, but you know what he does well? He works hard off the ball. And Fabregas honestly doesn't provide that. He used to be able to do it, but this season it's really dropped off. It's something that he kind of did occasionally, and now he just doesn't really do it at all. So Pedro on for Fabregas. Now all of a sudden, you've got somebody that's going to put pressure in the midfield. Henderson, who's linking up the play, he doesn't have time to anymore because Pedro, boom, on him every time. But no change. And then they keep going. And then they keep going. And they keep going. I'm just like, what are we waiting for? And so, waiting. And then you bring on Willian for Hazard. That's a problem. Because, yes, Willian provides more defensive cover than Hazard, but you've still got Fabregas, who doesn't have a lot of speed. You still got a problem. And then he brings on Zappacosta for Moses. Huge problem. Now you've brought on a guy who doesn't want to defend for a guy who will do the defensive side of the work in Moses. Why? I don't understand that change. He does it so many times. It's like you do realize you're bringing on an attack-minded player for a player who's willing to do both sides of the ball. Like Zappacosta, he's not geared to defend. You can see whenever we win the ball back, we have it for literally 2 seconds and he's already down the field. Not waiting to see, do we have possession? Do you guys need me to step back and help out? Do you need to use my feet? No, he's just, we won the ball back, gone. And then we lose it and now he's out of position. Just like, why is he out there? Why do we keep going to him whenever we need to shut up shop? It should be you bring on Christensen, have Christensen, Cahill, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta as like the back four-ish, and then you can have Alonso as kind of the fifth one back there. That should be the change, not taking off Moses, who's actually willing to work back, and then bringing on Zappacosta, who normally doesn't. Unless we're just pinned back, then he'll stay back there. But so what? He doesn't provide anything different than Moses does. And heck, you're putting him one-on-one against Mane. I trust Moses to be able to take on Mane more than I do Zappacosta. And then finally, with like 2 minutes into stoppage time, 2 minutes left, then he brings on Pedro for Fabregas. I'm like, what's it going to do now? At this point, the game's pretty much done. All we got to do is just kick the ball out like 2 more times and the game's over. This sub should have happened much, much sooner. That way, we're not having to panic in the last, 20 minutes as they continue to press and press and press. And so, yeah, that's my biggest frustration from the game today is just those subs are awful. And it's been bad. It's something I've complained about all season. But it's one of those things where we have a chance to get back into the Champions League. Tottenham lost yesterday against West Brom. We have a chance, put them under pressure, 2 points. Why not make your best subs? Why not make the best decisions to change the game, to affect the game positively for us? But he doesn't do it. And it just continues to reaffirm the fact that he doesn't want to be here. Yes, he's still passionate. Yes, he's still on the sideline, yelling, screaming, and all that stuff. But when I look at what he's doing, when I look at the subs that he's bringing on, when I look at the starting lineup he's putting out, he's not putting out the best lineup we have, and he's not making the best subs at the best times. And that's a problem. It's something that he's been doing for at least half of this season, and it's why we're in the position we are. So, yeah, that's all for Conte. I realize I spent a lot of time talking about this stuff, but honestly, part of that is because those are the main things that I noticed. The individual play, honestly, for the most part, was pretty good. As far as, individuals, I'll just kind of run through it. Courtois played well today. Didn't really have any problems from him. Had to make some good saves and did so. Spilicueta, Cahill, Rudiger, all of them played well. Didn't really have any issues. All of them were really tested, especially at the end, and really did their jobs well. The one thing, that I will say on this, because I've been pretty critical of Cahill, is that he really showed at the end of the game why we have him in there. That desire to go win the ball in the air. When teams just start dumping the ball in there, you need Cahill. He's going to attack that ball. And something Rudiger does very well too. He put a couple of players off when they could have had a free header. So I just think all three of them did well today. No real issues, no problems. So Moses, once again, very solid performance. Honestly, his final third production got better. Obviously he assisted the goal. But aside from that, he just looked like he looked a bit quicker. He looked like he was a bit more aware of what to do, a bit more clever. So I thought overall played much better today than he has been. because the work rate has been there, the productivity has not always been there. So good to see him get an assist today and really look effective in that final third. And then Alonso, like I said, played well, but we're not asking you to be a striker. We're asking you to be a wing back. So stay wide, provide the width for us. Don't force Hazard, one of our two people up top, to have to provide that width because now you've isolated him. So main frustration there, but overall he did play well. So that's good to see that he's at least stepping up. The three in the middle, all three of them played pretty well. Bakayoko had a few moments in the first half where you could see once again those problems, the problems that a lot of us Chelsea fans have had with him. But overall, I thought he played well. We really got going in the second half. Defensively, stepped up quite a few times. Used his strength very well. His passing got pretty good second half as well. I think it was his ball that actually set up the goal too. Crossfield ball to Moses, I think. So he's definitely showing he has the ability, but we need it more consistently. We can't just have this one game out of 10 where he's been playing horribly, and then one game he plays well. So hopefully he can continue to improve. And the one thing that I'll continue to say for him is he is still young. So he has room to grow. I hope he does because I don't want to think that we wasted money on him. But at the same time, he's still a player that you have to make sure that there's enough cover behind him because there is still that chance where he could make a mistake. So anyway, Conte still doing Conte things. Fabregas still not his best, I don't think. Definitely looked a bit better as far as the passing is concerned today. It's a problem he's had in the past few games. His passing was pretty poor, and that's the one thing that he generally brings to the field. So today it looked a bit better, but it's still not quite the same Fabregas that I've come to expect. Part of that, I think, is down to the fact we're not really playing his system anymore. His system was, he picks up the ball deep, he looks long, tries to find somebody to play him behind. And when you play three in the middle, two up top, that option's not really on. Especially with Giroud up top. He doesn't really have the speed. Hazard's dropping deep. Giroud's waiting for somebody to play him a long ball so he can bring it down and use his strength. Fabregas not really looking for that. He's generally looking for the ball over the top. So I do think with this formation, with the players we have out there, I do think it sort of hinders him a bit. But at the same time, I do think he can move the ball around very well if you keep the ball moving. So it's something we need to look at for him. And then the two up top, Hazard and Giroud, both of them played well. Hazard really putting in a lot of good work today. Very clever, looked back up to what I expect out of him, which he's had some moments in the past few games, but this is the first game that I've seen in quite a few where he looked the force that we've come to expect. That one player that feels like he can take everything on his back and just run with it. He definitely looked like he had that ability today. Really, schooled some defenders, showed them what it is to be embarrassed. He did well. Probably should have had a couple goals too, but whatever the case, I thought I was very impressed with him today. Giroud, obviously, great header for the goal. But the big thing for him is just he continues to work hard. And that's huge for us. We need that striker up there that's going to work his butt off and continue to put pressure on the defense and continue to cause them problems, continue to knock them around. Because Morata's not doing that. Morata's just way too soft, gets touched, falls over. Giroud is more looking to, he's going to put a body in on you. He's going to force you to have to defend. And in the Premier League, you need a striker like that. So, as far as the subs that came on, none of them really had time to do much of anything. Willian had the most time, and his time was 10 minutes. So, overall, I don't blame them. I blame the coach for making the subs too late. But anyway, so that's about it for this game overall. We got 2 more games left. Obviously, we're kind of relying on a bit of luck as well because Tottenham had to face... I think it's Newcastle and then Leicester, both teams that are safe, I believe. So may not have much to play for, so we got to worry about that. And then, of course, we face Huddersfield midweek, who we just saw today against Man City. Clearly can put in a good, strong performance. And then we've got Newcastle away on the last day, which, playing at Newcastle is always it's always a terrible place to have to go and play. Who wants to go play at Newcastle? But I think Tottenham's Newcastle game is away as well. I think their Leicester game is home, but whatever the case, we are relying on a bit of luck. We're relying on Tottenham to slip up to give us a chance back into the Champions League, and then we've of course got to win these last two games to really give ourselves a chance. So it's a little bit in their hands as well as our hands, but I do think based on the performances I've seen over the past few games, we do have a good solid chance. We're not really playing to the best of our abilities, however, we're getting the results. And that is very important. It's something that obviously, because I'm being more critical, I'm not focusing on that stuff because I want to focus on what we need to fix. But that is something that I do want to mention right here at the end because, yeah, it's not the greatest performances, against Swansea, against Liverpool. 1-0 wins, barely winning, holding on at the end as they're peppering our goal. There are moments where you're just kind of like, this is awful, this is a terrible feeling. But, end of the day, we get the win. And I think that is something where, Conte may not be in the job next year, but I think he's doing enough right now to show that we can do this. We can finish this season out. We can get into a Champions League spot. Now, is it too little too late? We have yet to see. But I do feel confident going into these last two games that we are going to be able to get a result. We are going to be able to put in a good performance and finish this season strong. And just hope that Tottenham can slip up along the way. Fingers crossed. So anyway, yeah, that's about it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? Do you think we've got a good chance of getting into the Champions League next year, or do you think Tottenham's going to be able to finish out the season? Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for your Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.